This is a continuation of our final composition test. So we've already got a bunch of things set up in Compose. We have several tracks that are put together, and each one is blending between the walks and the walks to the runs, and we've retimed the animations by left mouse clicking and scaling them, right mouse clicking to drag them so that they repeat. And we messed around with a little bit of time at the end using a time blend. You can take a look and see where the time blends are on each of these clips. They're the very faint lines that are representative in each of the clips, the different curves. So what's left of here is we need to create our additive animation on top of all of these others. So we can collapse these tracks down, go to body keys, let's create a new track at the bottom. This track is going to hold our additive animation. Let's move these walks up to one more track here. Let's see, track 2 is empty. We can drop stuff into track 2. Let's insert our lean animation in track 2, which looks like it goes to the bottom of the list, but there's track 2. Let's move this all the way back so the in is set at frame 0, and if you move down, mouse over to the dope master, we can zoom out with the wheel mouse, and this track is going to play the entire length of the animation, 300 frames. Go to frame 0, look at the instance. We will lock the time at 0.999, so it's almost a full frame. If it hits 1, it will start at frame 0, because frame 0 and 1 on time are identical. So frame 0.999 is our perfect blend, and of course since it's set to equal, it's going to override everything else that we've put into this composition. So set it to additive. And since we've set the time, frame 0, middle mouse click will lock the time value so that it's a static variable. It's going to always stay at 100%. That's our slider value that we're going to blend to, and we're going to use the track mix channel instead to mix this curve down. So we'll start at we'll start at 0% here. 0, so nothing is going to get applied on frame 0. I'm just going to go to the top view and target our selected, sure we have main selected. And they're not going to be very easy to spot here on this curve, but let's go into Compose again and set the mix. I'll zoom in so that we have a couple of frames. We're going to scrub through. We don't need to see the tracks right now. And where he is turning extremely, let's mix that so that he stays curved and lined up to the path. So he's going to curve up even more, so we're mixing a small percentage into the curve. As he moves, let's unmix that. He's going to start to straighten out. Keep scrubbing. Straighten him out so that goes back down to 0. And it's just a small percentage, but it makes a big difference, especially if he's doing tight turns, which we didn't add in here. So let's mix that again. Keep him moving up, unmix it, he's starting to straighten out, and just keep him lined up with the path that he's sitting on. So his curve is looking good. Right here, unstraighten him. Let's zoom over. Let's go back, let's drop a keyframe in. Now straighten him out, set him to 0 here, and as he moves up, curve him in, scrub back and forth, make sure that he's still staying lined up. Then he's going to straighten out again here, so let's set that keyframe, the same one, and then he's going to straighten, let's see, about frame 280. Let's put him at 0, so now he's straight. He's straight and then he stops. So we didn't really have a chance to use all of our animations. We were able to get away with using a minimal amount of animations and keeping them lined up and synchronized directly. Since we locked down how fast this curve moved, the animation is going to play a little bit faster, but you can get the general idea of how to line up keyframes and stretch and change the transitions on all of the clips. So we didn't get to use a whole lot of them. We created all of these walk to idle mirror, which we did get to use. We got to use the run. We didn't get to mix the stance down, but it's there in case you want to use it. So let's put the idle in, just for fun. Let's extend it a couple more frames out. Let's go back to our tracks here, and it doesn't matter where on the tracks we put the idle, since everything pretty much winds up at a pose that we can drop an idle into. So whichever track it goes into is fine here. So he stops frame 300. Let's just move that back. Let's insert this idle into the last track. So remember, we used the idle mirror because we bailed out in the middle of a walk cycle instead of at one end or the other. So we can add the walk to idle mirror, just add the idle mirror in at the very end, and that's where he stops. And the registration from walk to idle mirror and idle mirror should be exactly the same. So go back to the camera view here, and then he's going to play his animation. Did I set the right one? Let's make sure we have it set correctly. If not, create a new track for it. There we go. If we create a new track, it will work in, or just move it in between to another track. So that looks correct so far. I know you can see a really tiny thumbnail view, but he walks, he takes a step, he stops with the walk to idle mirror, then plays the idle mirror animation. So if we wanted to start that back up again, we could do the idle mirror, crossfade that directly back into a walk, and then end the walk at the end of the walk cycle back to the regular walk to idle. And right now it's just imagining what other things you could do with it, but we've basically done everything we said we would do. We created the clips, we added them, we scaled them, we made them work correctly so that they work in proper form. They cross-blend between each other without any seams. We've been able to synchronize in different parts and cross-blend between different animations in the middle and towards the end. And in the previous tutorials we learned how to do some other fancier stuff, such as setting the composite mixing and blending in. So this one is correct and finished. Let's save this scene as 16FinalCompC.fxs.